back to my studio. Today I want to talk to you about how to stack and fire a glaze kiln. I have a lot of work that I'm ready to put into my kiln, and I just want to show you a little bit about the kiln. You've seen the kiln at school. This is my own. It's a little bit smaller. It is also powered by electric. There are many different ways that you can fire a kiln. You can use wood, you can use coal, you can use gas, natural gas, propane, even coal. People can do it with in charcoal grills. You just have to get it hot enough in order to make the clay change into a ceramic material. That term is called when it vitrifies, when it changes to a ceramic material, or when glaze changes to its glass-like state. Glaze is a glass material on the surface of fired pieces. Okay, so let's just look at the anatomy of my kiln. You can see it's a top loading kiln. That means that the lid opens from the top. It has two rings. Oops, one, two, and these are peepholes. They allow me to look in the kiln as well as letting air escape when the pieces are drying. You can see the red area. This is my control panel. It has two different dials that I can turn. This kiln has low, medium, and high, and I am what turns it up. Our kiln at school actually has a digital box, and I program it to do whatever it is that I want it to do, how quickly I want the temperature to rise, or how slowly, and to what temperature I want it to get to. This kiln uses what's called a cone. Okay, let me get one. All right. This is a cone. It is a kind of little triangular pyramid shaped piece of material that when it's fired to a specific temperature, it will bend. Okay. This is an example of the same cone that was already fired. You can see it's no longer pink, it's like a white, so it's changed to a different ceramic material and it has bent. Okay. Some people stack these up and watch them through the peephole, and they actually like watch them bend. My kiln has what's called a kiln sitter. So I'm going to set up the kiln sitter so that you can see how that actually works. On the outside of the kiln, there is, there's like a lever here, okay? And that has to flip up and hold under there, and it kind of connects with the cone on the inside, which I'll show you now. Okay, so I'm going to put my computer actually is inside of the kiln so that you can see. Here's the kiln sitter. It's made up of two pieces of metal and a third in the center here, okay? And that third piece moves up and down. So what I do is I flip that lever on the outside of the kiln and I hold it, and you can see that it's making that go up. And then I insert the cone in there and it holds those pieces of metal separated. So now, as the cone bends, like I showed you before, this piece is going to drop down. So what would happen when the kiln is finished, the kiln sitter, what it actually does is it turns off the kiln. This cone is going to fire to what is called cone 6. Cone 6 is a temperature that is for the glazes that I'm going to use, and it's also about 2200-ish degrees, give or take a little bit. So when the kiln temperature, when all of these heating elements are glowing hot and they're at 2200 degrees, this cone is going to melt. It won't melt before that because this one is specifically formulated to melt at that temperature. So I'm going to just pull it out, but if you can imagine, we're inside of the kiln and it is heating up and it is bending like, oops, it's bending like that. And that's to cause this middle little piece to drop down. So what happens is it drops down. And I don't know if you heard that little like click, but that was the lever on the outside of the kiln that drops down. When that falls, the kiln shuts off. I can also shut it off on my own if I wanted to fire differently. But most people that have kiln sitters think of it as a babysitter for the kiln. It's a kiln sitter, okay? And a cone, just like an ice cream cone, think about it that way. Okay, those are the terms. Okay, so I am ready to start stacking the kiln. Stacking meaning putting my glazed pieces in. You can see I have already set up these areas that are shelved. I have all different types of shelving shelves. Okay, they hold up my shelves. I can make my shelves whatever size. It really just stacking a kiln is like a puzzle. You stack it dependent on how much, what the height is of whatever it is that you're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to start putting some things in. Then I'm going to pause it and get the kiln all set up for you. All right, so okay, so first I'm going to put this big bowl in because I already have it set up. So I have to have the stilts set up for the height of the kiln. So you can kind of see that, okay? And I usually use a tripod method. Tripod is the sturdiest for your shelves. So I am going to put a third uh, leg in there that's going to hold that up. And I'm going to pause you for a minute and I'm going to continue to stack that. Okay, so let's look at what that first layer looks like. You can see in the kiln that I have a bunch of and that nothing all right, it's important firing. You don't have pieces touch. The glaze will become a molten glass and they will glue themselves together if that's the case. Okay, I'm going to put the next shelf in and then I'll continue to stack. Okay, so what in the kiln that you use is called kiln furniture. Okay, but that little piece looks like this, and it helps me in case any of the glaze drips that the piece doesn't glue itself to the shelf because it totally will. It becomes a liquid glass and it will adhere itself on and you won't be able to get it off without breaking the piece. So if in fact the glaze drips, they are all sitting on something like this so that I can grind down any drips and it really won't stick to the shelf. Okay, I'm going to finish stacking it and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm all set. I had this large student piece that I wanted to get there. So I decided to put a small shelf underneath that. So now we're ready to close the lid and start up the kiln. So let me put you down where you can see. Okay, so I'm going to close this up and I'm going to push a button on the side of the kiln and I'm going to turn both of my temperatures to low, both of my dials. Now, in a glaze kiln, I don't have any reason for heat to escape through the holes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put uh, plugs in them because I want this to heat up fast. So I'm going to cover those holes so that I keep as much heat in there as I can. Now, fumes do escape when you're firing a glaze kiln, so I'm going to put a hood fan over the top of this. So it might be a little noisy as I roll it over. All right, so this is my exhaust fan, and I have a switch here, and it just kind of hovers over the top of that and takes the fumes out outside through that hose. Okay, so I'm going to leave this kiln on for